Hello and welcome to this Dawn Busters Taste Challenge. There it is. Daytime has arrived or is arriving as I speak. And this taste challenge is going to involve two 80 proof Canadian blended whiskeys. This is the Canadian Club whiskey aged 6 years. Actually, this particular one is no longer in production. You can still find it on some store shelves, but it's been replaced by a 5-year aged version. And if you look at the Canadian Club website, they even talk about how their current version is not the original recipe, but it's similar to the original recipe. Okay, so you might contend that they're cheapening things up. Well, you would be right, because going from 6 years to 5 years is cheapening it. I don't mean the price went down. I'm saying the quality of the product. I guess they figured it wouldn't make much of a difference in the sales. Don't know if it has. Don't track their sales. I just found they had about 2 dozen bottles left at International Market in Metairie, Louisiana. So I bought one. I think it was $5.99. $5.99 for that 375 milliliter plastic bottle. Meta Modern Sound says, good morning from Mamou, Louisiana. Oh, hello there. Good morning to you. Meta Modern Sounds. Well, what are we putting up against this retired expression of Canadian Club? The ever popular, no, the rarely seen Canadian Crest. Introduced in 1987. So it's been out on the market. Well, let's assume this is the same recipe from 1987. This particular thing's been on the market longer than the Canadian Club that you can get today, but the brand Canadian Club's been on the market since 1858. You might remember it was called Club Whiskey, just simply Club Whiskey. There was a bunch of complaints from American distillers that it was taking business from them. So the U.S. government insisted that they change the name to Canadian Club Whiskey to differentiate it. Okay, so they start calling it Canadian Club Whiskey instead of just Club Whiskey. Canadian whiskey with natural flavors. That's what this says. How long has it been aged? Well, you know what? They don't say. Guess the minimum 3 years. Is this going to be a high quality product, a store brand, a private label brand from Albertsons? You know it's not. It's $5.99 a bottle. You know it's just cheap whiskey. Do people buy a lot of store brand, no name brand stuff, whatever you want? I don't even know when they started coming out with store brand items. A long time ago, I assume. Decades and decades ago. You might say, well, some people are just cheap. They don't want to spend money for good whiskey, so they'll buy cheap stuff like this. Actually, you're right. And they'll buy cheap canned vegetables. They'll buy cheap coffee. They'll buy store brand bread, etc., etc., etc. That's why the stuff's on the market, because some people are that way. They're going to buy that kind of stuff. But it is approved by John James. It says with a little sticker on here. It's not really a sticker, it's just part of the label. Who is John James? I don't know. Does Canadian Club have natural flavors? It doesn't say that, but it tastes like it does, okay? W, House of Windsor, the Royal House of Windsor. There's another example of changing a name due to popular demand. The real name of the Royal House of Windsor, the Royal family of Canada, Queen Elizabeth II of Canada. The real reason was because people were saying, y'all are a gang of Germans. The House of Saxe-Coburg and Gotha. Saxe-Coburg and Gotha. They said, okay, 1917. From now on, we're the House of Windsor, after Windsor Castle. We're really English. And we give up all our German titles, even though we originated in Germany to a large extent, but that's okay. All right. You might say, I've never heard of Canadian Crest. Well, you know, that's believable unless you go to Albertsons, Safeway, Vons, Jewel Osco, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I don't know all the stores they own, but you can look on their website. And then you might live in a state that does not allow liquor sales outside of a liquor store. Okay, well, now I went to Florida. I was in Florida, actually, even yesterday. Grocery stores are allowed to sell liquor. It just has to be out of a liquor store part of the grocery store. You know what I mean? Like everywhere you go is Publix. And then they have a liquor store hooked onto the side of it. If you go to Baton Rouge, the Albertsons have a liquor store hooked on to the side of it. But you can enter the liquor store through the grocery store. You know, you just enter in. But in Florida, it's separate. It's like there's a wall. You have to go through the front door to get in the liquor store. Baton Rouge might have some rule about that. That liquor has to be sold at a liquor store. Now that I think about it. That's why they got BenQ liquors. No, that can't be the rule. No, because I bought Kentucky Gold whiskey and another one too at a convenience store in Baton Rouge. No, that's not a rule. It's just something Albertsons does because that's their store model. If you go to Albertsons in Hammond, the liquor department is inside the store. There's no separate liquor store. Okay. Now, the appearance, they're the same. They're just straight up gold with alcohol legs. Looks like whiskey in a glass, right? Okay. Are they going to taste the same? Well, I think Canadian Club's going to win because it's age 5. Well, I'm sorry. This one is age 6 years as opposed to probably 3. No age statement on the Canadian Crest. Canadian Club is an actual brand sold around the world. Owned by Jim Beam Suntory. All of that. But it does taste like it has flavor. Now, when you drink Canadian Club, it tastes like there's some kind of wine or other spirits in it. Brandy or bourbon or rum or something. It's not super strong in that, but it does have that, especially this honeycomb thing. I just ate some honeycomb cereal this very morning. Or I think it was the malto meal version. You know, another one of those substitute things like honey bites or whatever they call it. I don't know. I don't pay attention to it really. That's what malto meal does. They just mimic whatever Kellogg's has. They make down the line a mimic of it. It's cheaper when you buy the bag. You don't pay for the cardboard box. All right. Now, here we go. I don't have to worry about looking down because they look the same, so the appearance won't throw me off, and I poured the same amount. Now, if they're very, very, very close in flavor and aroma, and if it's even a virtual tie, then you know Canadian Club wins because we're talking $5.99 a bottle, and the cheapest I've ever seen. I mean, Canadian Crest will win. Canadian Crest will win. We're talking $5.99 a bottle. Canadian Club, the cheapest I've ever seen it is $10.99, and that's not normal. It's normally $11.99. And then Winn-Dixie has the gift pack for $11.99. You get the Canadian Club and a glass, a Canadian Club etched glass. Well, that's a good deal. That's a nice gift. Okay. So we're talking nearly twice the amount for the product. So if I'm drinking one whiskey that costs 40% let's say 40, yeah, 45% more. Oh, I'm sorry, what am I saying? 85% more. It better be that much better, but you know, it isn't going to be that much better. It'll be a little bit better. That's my prediction. This one smells like whiskey. You know, it's alcohol burning the nose and some fruitiness and that candy like whiskey thing, you know, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, this is Canadian Club. And let me tell you why. It's got that same thing that I was describing over there, but the burn is not as pronounced, but the honeycomb, that strange, I don't even know how to describe it. You have to drink it now. You say you're just trying to encourage people to drink Canadian Club. I'm not trying to do that. I'm saying that's the only way you can experience it. You're not, me describing it isn't going to be adequate. It's a strange mustiness. It's pungent sort of flower, nectar, honeycomb, odd. I can't even, it's hard to describe. There's a barley, like that barley bread. Yeah. And I find this when I write a beer review, if I write it on Rate Beer, Beer Advocate, you can't ever really describe it appropriately, but you try your best, you know, because if the person isn't drinking it, they can't relate to it. I don't even watch or read beer reviews for beers I haven't had, because or whiskey or brandy, and why is that? Or gin, and why is it? Because I have not ever tasted it. I can't relate to it. You know, I don't need. Now, some people tell me I don't try a beer or a wine or a whiskey till I watch your channel. Well, that's fine for them to do that, and I appreciate that. Although that is not my own practice. I just buy stuff and try it, regardless of what people are going to say. You know, I just buy it. I say, oh, let me try it, and then I try to taste it before I read any reviews, so I can get a kind of open-minded, less biased or clouded viewpoint. Now, I might hear some hype about the beer, you know, or the whiskeys or the brandy, so it could influence me in that way. But you want as minimal influence as possible preparatory to tasting it, I think. Okay, so this, I'm telling you right now, this is Canadian Club, Canadian Crest, and this is Canadian Club. That's just my, on aroma only. Which is a better aroma? That's okay. A lot of corn coming through. This is a much better aroma. It's just a better quality product. It better be. It almost smells twice as good now. Taste time. I still have 6 Major League Baseball highlights to watch. National League games from last night. I watched all the American League and Interleague highlights on MLB.com. Yeah, it's like American blended whiskey. You know, it's that heavy corn grain thing. It's almost even like a burn. Like there is a peripheral flavored whiskey presentation, but the heart of the whiskey, the heart of it, the core, if we want to use a theory like that, or explanation that way, the core is the corn grain, and you get that with the blended Scotch whiskey, the cheaper ones, you know, especially. Maybe not so much with Cutty Sark or Buchanan's 12-year, especially that one you don't get much. That underlying grain base. And the American blended whiskey, same thing. You get this, and the Irish blended whiskey, that grain column, still grain filler, if you want to say. That's a good thing. Filler base. It's not bad per se, but you do detect it, and that is where the trade-off is. If you're willing to tolerate that, then you don't mind paying the very low price. I wouldn't honestly want to have that experience all the time. which is the reason for phasing slowly, and this was the plan all along anyway, or it's been the plan, well, maybe not all along, but it's been the plan for a while, slowly phasing out these and going up the ladder. Now, I wanted to start at the bottom, ground floor, and work my way up, because people were saying, well, try this very expensive whiskey. You know, I said, no, I'd rather start low and work up. And people are saying, well, you know, it's a lot better at the top. But you're telling me what I know already. I mean, it should be. You would hope. You know, but I didn't want to start with Johnnie Walker Blue Label and then the next time get Albertson's American Blended Whiskey. You know, I mean, that's going to be a pretty glaring quality difference. Although these are not complicated concepts, I don't think. It seems like some people in the beer drinking world, especially, they think these things are complicated. Like, you know, like, oh, you know, they'll tell me, you know, oh, well, KBS is way better than Trader Joe's name tag lager. Well, I mean, we know that already. That's obvious. They're not even the same type of beer, and the price is wildly different. But their contention is, why are you reviewing the Trader Joe's name tag? Well, just to review it. There's no great goal. It's not a quest. I tried to say this. It is not a quest. It's just something to do for general interest, okay? Yeah, now you see here, you get the flavoring from top to bottom in the sip, top, middle, and bottom. I'm not sitting here trying to tell you how great Canadian Club is. I'm not. That is not what I'm doing. Is it fabulous? No. It's unusual, a bit unusual. If you have only drunk bourbon, let's say, or American blended whiskey, it's going to be a lot different because it has that odd, what we would consider odd flavoring. That someone said plum wine, and that's in my head now. It's like fixated in my mind that it's got to be some kind of plum wine because you've had plums, or even, no, not figs or dates, but it's something fruit-like. It's strange, a little strange. I don't know. Oh, well. Yeah. It's even almost like notice I say almost like a minty thing. Almost, isn't. And it isn't any of what I just described, except the grain base. Now, you do get that grain, which is predominantly corn and the barley. And then, yeah, there is rye. There's that rye spice, you know. Okay, that's there. And this one is there rye. Oh, yes, there is. Makes sense because it's a Sazerac product. And Sazerac, Buffalo Trace, Sazerac, Barton Distilling, Majestic Distilling of Baltimore, they have a high rye content relative to other companies. It's sort of like their calling card. If you think on it enough, you know. I didn't say they're great. I just say it has that. Okay, well, okay. That's that. Canadian Club wins. Is it twice as good? I'm not saying it's twice as good, okay? It probably is worth buying the Canadian Club for $11.99 as opposed to the Canadian Crest for $5.99. If I was looking to buy a Canadian blended whiskey, and I might be, although I have such a backstock right now, you would probably say, oh, no, this is too much. You need help. I do need help drinking them down. So I admit that I need help drinking them down because I got so many. And I have some people coming to help me occasionally. Intervening, you know, they're doing an intervention. They're intervening to help me drink it down, and I appreciate that. So yeah, in theory, I would buy another Canadian blended whiskey, and down the road, that will probably happen. But I have to get to this backstock. It's too much. I mean, it's sort of like the B-52 song "Party Out of Bounds." And it's sort of like Hobby Out of Bounds. You know, a hobby that went a little too far, but not based on mania. Like you say, oh, bipolar. He was in a manic stage. He was in a mania. No, it was so many low prices I kept running across. I kept running across bargain. And then I had bad experiences in the past where I would pass up something and go back later to get it, and then it wasn't there. So there was some of that mania within the context of that. But then, you know, you step back and look and say, okay, you went on a little buying spree that lasted 2 years. But okay, so now you stop, and then you drank down the stock, and then years later you can go buy some more. And I think that's a good idea. Now you might say, oh, well, you bought J&B Scotch Sunday at ABC Fine Wine and Spirits in St. Petersburg, Florida on US Highway 92 northbound. I did buy that because they had a sale on it for $18.99. It's at least $20.99 around here. Minimally that. I figured while I'm there, I'll save $2 minimal. It ain't going anywhere. I'll put it in the cabinet and no big deal. It's not like I went berserk. I wanted to try it anyway, so you know what I'm saying. Okay. If I'm wrong about this, I will question everything. Canadian Club. Okay. This says Canadian. Did I make a mistake though at pouring it? I'm going to put that, because see, they're both CC. So I put, you say you're running your mouth so much. I know. CACL, that was Canadian Club. Club, Canadian Club. Okay, we'll work on this. Okay, you know, let's work together. Let's walk through this together. Because I'm not ready to admit that I got it wrong, because I think I just mixed up the tags, because it's impossible that this could be Canadian Crest, I think. Okay, as I walk through the halls of karma. All right, so let's try to work together now. It's got, you see, anyone can make a mistake, right? Okay. It's got to be it. Okay, we're gonna see. We're gonna see. I have enough recollection to remember each taste. All right. I was literally worried about that earlier. I was saying I got to make sure I don't mix the tags up, because it's CC and CC. And let me. I think that's what I did, because I think I remember pouring Canadian Club and the CC, just because that's a force of habit, right? So we'll try a little bit more. Got to save some for taste challenges. Let's see here. Let's see. All right. Oh boy. All right. Wow. Okay. Yeah. There's no mistaking that strange waxiness. I said that before, I believe, that waxiness. Yeah. Gosh. All right. Put a little bit. You see, it has that residual, like, mentholated thing going. Get a little bit more of this. You say you're just using that as an excuse to drink. No, I'm not. If I wanted to, I would just drink a lot. If I wanted to drink a lot, I would just say, I'm going to drink a lot. Okay. I wouldn't try to come up with an excuse. I would just do it. But I have a feeling I messed up on the pour. the tagging, which, see, it doesn't have that top to bottom. It just has that flat. That's what you call it, like a flat smell. You say, you mean cheap? Yeah, right. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah. It's just so basic. Yeah, so, okay, I screwed up the tags. I was right. This is Canadian Club. And that's Canadian Crest. I just messed the tags up. Sorry about that. So, the Canadian Crest does not come close to Canadian Club. It just does not. It's a, I know they're making it CC Canadian Crest. It is a very poor imitation or substitute. Is it a bad thing on its own merits? No, on its own merit, it's fine. If you want to pay $5.99 and buy some basic thing, buy it. It's fine. But in competition, this is where these things start to fall apart. In competition, they just cannot make it. So that's it. It just can't hold up. The Canadian Club has a lot of redeeming qualities. It can stand on its own. It has quality. Is it great, profound quality? No. So, but it does have quality. So Canadian Club is a worthwhile product, and I would recommend it. And you know, there's not much bad you can say about it. It's just, it is what it is. It's a $11.99 a bottle, or $5.99 for this, and it has some regard. You know, you can have regard for it. The Canadian Crest, I would not recommend it, but it exists. If you want to go into that world, you know what I mean? Like, it's sort of a quaint world of private label, but it is about what you'd expect. It's a store brand. It is cheap. It tastes cheap. Is it offensive or horrendous or bad? It isn't particularly bad. You'll find that more in the beer world, like these really questionable and unpleasant store brand beers. Like, if you want to explore the world of badness and sadness, and go get the Rockdale Light, Rockdale Classic. I don't know how they could call that a classic. And the Rockdale Ice. It is a truly depressing experience. In my opinion, I just find nothing worthwhile about those. And the Canadian Club is on the cusp of that. It isn't there, but it isn't far from it. It really is not far from it. Okay, well, sorry about that little mess up, but these things will happen when you're careless. I'm not making an excuse. It was just careless, you know, doing the tags and say, oh, whoop. So in 2 days, I'm planning to go. Now, in 2 days, is going to be no kind of taste challenge, and I'll go quickly. It'll be Canadian Crest versus Canadian Club Classic 12-year age. Now, there is no way Canadian Crest will be confused with Canadian Club Classic 12-year age. And I think I would be able to differentiate them like this one on aroma alone. But it would be a colossal disparity, So if you want to pay $5.99, don't ever in your wildest dreams think that it can match up to a $24.99 bottle of whiskey. That cannot happen. That will not happen. It must not happen. Thank you for watching this video production.